You're watching the Tesla Life live with your host, Mark Coughlin!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 368. Here we are on the, what is it today? Oh, it's the 17th of July.
Yeah.
Already, man, we are moving through this summer period, definitely. And today with us, as always, we have our co-host. We have Mr. Patrick Connor joining us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hello, Tesla Nation. We got to give Casey a minute to get stuff straightened out over there. So while he's working on that, Mark, I've got a problem. Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Yep. I've got a problem with Tesla. And I want to.
What's your problem?
Yes. I have 1,000. I have 1,000 referral points, and there's nothing that I can spend them on because the shirt that I want is out of stock in my size. And the referral points expire at the end of the month, and it doesn't look like they're going to get them back in stock. And of course, because the referral program is ending, a bunch of people are doing what I'm doing and buying stuff with their referral points, which is why they're out of stock. So I can't complain too hard, though, because the referral program has been generous to me. Not free Roadster generous, but I did receive a roof rack, 2 wall connectors, and a power wall. And that last one has been a game changer. So last week on the show, I talked about how we had 4 VPP events last week, and we had another one yesterday. So I like participating in these. It's great to help the grid be more stable and sharing my solar energy and making a buck or two. So it's a win all around.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And you're getting more of those events happening this summer so far, right? It seems to be on the uptick.
It is, yes. And I expect we're going to have plenty more of them this summer. The summers are hotter. More people have air conditioning now, which means more demand on the grid, which means more call for VPPs.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Also joining us, Mr. Casey Green from the Mid-Atlantic. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. I was going to say, if you couldn't see it, but I'm wearing my Dragon shirt today from SpaceX.
Dragon, yes.
Oh, cool.
But there was news about their, well, actually, there was already news that they were selected to deorbit the ISS at the end of its lifetime. But we got our screenshots today of our renders today of what it's going to look like. It's basically going to be a cargo Dragon with a longer trunk, and it's going to just kick it out of orbit.
It's just going to be a bulldozer, push it out of orbit.
That's right.
Let's get on to the news, shall we? We've got Anders in the chat room. Hello, Anders. Glad for you to join us. We've got the number one story this week, which happened almost last week. It happened shortly after we ended last week's show, live show, and that was, of course, that the Model 3 Long Range Rear-Wheel Drive was introduced to the Tesla website. And this variation of the Model 3 is now qualifying for the U.S. IRA credit of $7,500 if your income qualifies. And it is now, of course, if you do qualify, it is now the cheapest Tesla that there is, just under the $35,000 mark with the credit included. So
how many times has the Model 3 actually been the $35,000 car? Like 4 now?
That's right. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time that it's been bumped down to that, some different variations. But what's really nice about this variation is that this was the original configuration, the configuration that I bought.
I was about to say, when Mark bought this car, it was $60,000.
That's right. 6 years ago, it was 60,000 Canadian dollars, and now it's certainly a lot lower, and you get more to it. Certainly, there's been 6 years of innovations and hardware upgrades, and also there has been this little added thing called range. This particular model is 363 miles of range, I believe. because it's just a rear-wheel drive configuration, and it's certainly much more efficient than the other vehicles. So this is a huge win for somebody that's looking for this type of vehicle. Even Derek at 51K, it's certainly still a value if you don't qualify for the rebate. So,
depending on how you look at it, you either have now 53 more miles of range than when you bought the car, or if your car was one of the ones that actually did go up in mileage when Tesla changed to 325, many people didn't get all of that or any of it, then it's 40 miles more than you had at one point before degradation hit in.
Exactly. So this is a huge win for somebody that's been waiting to jump on the Model 3. And now, of course, the other thing that makes this qualify for the rebate is that they're using the batteries from North American sources. So those batteries do qualify, as well as the entire car, because it's made in Fremont, and it's using those North American batteries. So you're good. And I think they're going to sell a boatload of these vehicles, although none of them are probably going to be getting on a boat. They're all staying within the three countries, I'm sure. But it's a huge win, and somebody that is just looking at getting into the EV game. This is a fantastic value, and certainly I believe the sales will underline that.
So, one thing you have that they don't is passenger side lumbar.
Exactly. They will never know the luxury of the passenger side lumbar button. Absolutely.
For $25,000, I would go without passenger side lumbar. I mean, think about it. 6 years ago, how many things are cheaper now than they were 6 years ago? Inflation's been crazy over the last 6 years. And here, this car is $15,000, $20,000 cheaper. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you out there are thinking about getting this vehicle, we'd love to hear from you if you get it, and would love to hear your review. So let us know if you end up pulling the trigger on this, because I think you're not going to get much better of a value than this at all. Like, I really think that this is certainly something that if you've been on the fence, it's time to get off the fence. This is a win for sure.
So this is the Highland configuration, the refresh,
Yes.
as some are calling it. Does it have a rear screen?
Yes,
it does.
Oh, wow. That's not just the performance model, but it's
Right.
even this one.
That's all models.
Wow.
Of the refreshed Highland. Yeah.
Right.
That's
And
pretty cool.
It should have all the speakers. Somebody was saying that the standard range still doesn't have all the speakers, even though it's got the screen. But this one, they just deleted the motor.
And another cool thing is that you've got the automatic trunk popper and closer, which of course is not on mine, and the heated steering wheel, big plus for colder climates.
Heat pump. Yep.
Heat pump is there, exactly, and the reconfigured actual single casting for the front and the back. So there's certainly wins across many columns for the Highland.
EV tires, all black chrome instead of silver chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you wanted to take advantage of that FSD transfer, and you have a Model 3 long range rear wheel drive, is it something to consider?
Exactly. Yes, Derek, heat pump included. So it's lots of changes for this model. But let us know if you're planning on getting one or do get one. Love to hear from you.
My interface is frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you look good on our end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, it won't let me change the scroller. And the last chat I got is Anders here.
Okay. All right. So we may lose Casey partway through this. We never know.
Yeah. We've got Derek and June and JT all in there talking. And Casey can't see it, so he can't share.
No,
Derek mentioned the dual window panes, and that is definitely one thing with my Model X. Yeah. If I was on a phone call, and I stopped and parked. Like everybody walking by could hear the phone call. The sound just went right out. And now with the Y, the windows, I don't know what the exactly what it is, but I'm sure a lot of it's from the windows. That is not the case anymore. It's so much quieter, and it doesn't leak as much of my personal sound out, which is so it's quieter both ways. That's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Derek, I'm at 116 or 17,000 kilometers currently. So
96 and change here. Miles
though. Yeah. So I'm at kilometers. I haven't done the conversion, but you can.
70,000 miles. I'm guessing.
Yeah, somewhere close. Yep. Next story I want to talk about is missing coffee mugs. Do you guys have any coffee mugs laying around the studio? Okay,
I got mine right here. I got
a Tesla mug. So
I got a couple of them.
Got anyone that has a Tesla logo on it, Casey? Anything like that? No? Okay. Busy, doing nothing. Okay. You're clear. You're clear. Tesla Berlin has come into a bit of a caper. They're not sure as to what happened to about 63,000 Tesla coffee mugs that are missing, basically, since the inception or the opening of Giga Berlin. They were distributed in break rooms. They were trying to encourage people to, of course, not to use paper cups and disposable items. Just use a coffee mug all day, wash it, and use it the next day, type thing. And it appears that some people decided that the loaner program was for outside the factory as well, and a number of the coffee mugs have gone missing. So just kind of an interesting note that came in the news this week about these missing mugs, and of course the number of missing mugs is the real showstopper.
I believe the executive told the people in attendance at the meeting that that was enough for 5 mugs per person at home of their IKEA mugs. A little excessive.
Yeah.
So the person that's got those mugs for sale on eBay, I'm sure, is under investigation at this point.
Yeah. So the coffee must flow. So they have to have a solution for this, because otherwise productivity will drop like a rock at that plant.
If you want them to sleep on the floor, you gotta coffee them up.
Right. So at this point, just tell them bring in their own mugs, and yeah. Like, okay, we bought all we're gonna buy, and if you want coffee, bring in a mug. Then people will keep track of their own mugs and keep them clean.
Our last batch, and if these go away, you bring in your own.
Yeah, or they just need to buy lower quality mugs, ones that people wouldn't want to take home anyway. Make them some ugly color, or just some plastic crap or something.
Exactly. But you got to be careful. If they're real poor quality, leak or something, then it's just going to make a mess.
Yeah, don't go that far.
Leak problem.
But make headlines. Yes. Contamination spills at Giga Berlin.
Exactly. Next story we wanted to touch upon this week was about. We heard about this a few weeks ago. The Model Y has been quietly updated the battery pack, and some of the Model Ys sold a number of months ago. The owners were not even made aware that the battery pack had additional capacity in it. They were software locked to a certain amount of mileage, which of course they were made aware of. And of course they purchased under that condition that they would get at least that mileage. But Tesla has made some updates to the efficiency of the vehicle. And with that, they have been able to regain some extra mileage. Depending on the pack that you have, it can be as little as 40 miles, or it could be as much as 65 miles, I believe. So there is this mod that can happen if you're willing to chip in a little bit to pay for. Again, depending on which pack you have. The service department certainly can let you know based on your serial or VIN number of the vehicle. And you can pay to have that extra mileage unlocked. Move that software lock up to the full capacity of your battery if you wish to. So this is a win for some. Others won't care because, of course, they bought it with the certain realistic thought that I'm going to get X amount of miles anyways. I'm happy with that. In many cases, you may not really care anymore. Although, if you knew that you had the larger pack that you weren't paying for, you could theoretically charge to 100% every night. And that extra buffer could be the 20% that you're not supposed to go, or 10 or 20% you're not supposed to go over on a daily basis. So that might be one reason just to find out what pack you have. But if you're happy with the mileage you've got, then doesn't really affect you. It's just something that you could opt in if you wish to do so.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that once you get the update and they start telling you if you don't need the miles, just slide your slider up. That's free miles right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some other podcasts, I'm not going to out them, they were saying this is crap, and that if you bought the battery pack and it's your pack and you own it, you should be able to use it all, and the Tesla charging you is wrong. And I completely disagree. I with the perspective that Mark just brought there, where you got what you paid for, and now you have an option to have more range. And if you want it, great, you can pay for it. And if you don't want it, fine, you actually have a battery pack that's going to be more reliable, so and have a longer lifespan. So it's win-win. There's no downside to this. That's because also, you could have instead got the pack that was before, where there was not that extra buffer, and you would have paid the same amount and had the same range. So there's no reason to complain about this at all.
And you'd have extra degradation.
Right.
But this isn't anything new. IBM's been doing this for decades. Like even before I was around, maybe even before you were born.
It is not a new thing, that's for sure.
They've been putting in extra memory, extra processors, and extra equipment into their mainframes, and then you'd call them up and say, "Hey, we need an upgrade." And they'd say, "All right, reboot." And the next you know, it's that much more powerful. You didn't even have to wait for a technician to come out and pop stuff in there, because for that value of equipment, you would need a service visit, and that was a benefit that you could do it during a downtime instead of having to coordinate a schedule with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Back in the day, this will tell you how old I am. I had a 9600 baud modem, and I found a way to hack it to get it to go to 14.4 by flashing it with new firmware that I did myself instead of paying for it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Rocking the 14.4, man.
Patrick's flash and burn modem shop. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, the old squelch box. We all had modems. Or did you, Casey? Did you have a modem?
Yeah, I had a couple modems.
Okay.
I think mine started at 24.4 when I was actually able to use it for fun stuff. I think my first one was a 14.4 as well, and we would play. My dad and I would play Command and Conquer from upstairs and downstairs over the phone line.
Awesome.
Yeah, no modem cable.
Yep.
An intranet inside the house.
Yeah. Yep. A separate phone line that didn't go anywhere.
There you go. Yeah, so that's certainly is perspective, Patrick. I don't know why someone would be upset about this, trying to, again, you agreed to the terms that you purchased. You understood what the vehicle had, and no one's taking anything away from you at this point. It's just becomes an extra option that you can use if you wish. And you don't even have to use it today. You can wait a year down the road and then decide that you want to do it. So if your situation changes, you do have the option of upgrading at a later time, because of course it remains that option remains within your vehicle and will stay with the vehicle for the lifetime of the vehicle. So
maybe you move to a different house, or you take a different job, and now you're like, wow, if only I had a little more range. And guess what? You can make that happen.
Yep. Or Kim's Uber friend, whatever she's going by this week, he bought the used Model 3 and found out that, oh man, I need more range. He could have just dialed him up, given him a couple $1,000s, and there it is.
Exactly. So, Casey, did you happen to catch this next story that we have on top here about Germany?
Germany.
About the Cybertruck on display.
Yeah, the orange one, the one with the orange paint job.
Oh, it's orange now. So the terrorists, okay, these ones could be activists, but these terrorists came to the Cybertruck display, and they poured orange paint on it, and then kind of painted the triangle window, like all the windows in the shape of the triangle, with orange, and then they hung up this orange banner between the two of them before the video ended, and I assume they were ushered out of the building or detained by the constabulary.
Hopefully arrested and charged.
Yeah, exactly. Detained and charged. Germany.
What's up with Germany? What is up? I get it. There are protests everywhere. It's not like there's not protests here in Canada or in the United States or other countries. It absolutely happens across the world. But man, focusing on Tesla as we do here, you're certainly getting a lot of German stories, negative German stories about protesters that are either, trying to protect ants or try to burn down a gigafactory by lighting up electricity cables, or trying to charge the gates, spend time in the forest as people living amongst the trees and trying to break orders about trespassing. It's just a sad story that just seems to be shown over and over again.
Right. Oh no, we're tired of all this environmental destruction. Let's kill the least impactful personal transport, and now you're forced to use diesels. And then
so these guys show up at an actual Tesla dealership that had the Cybertruck on loan for just display purposes,
right?
And they decide they're going to dump a can of orange paint on it and move the paint around, and then get their banner up, get a couple pictures taken before the arrest happens.
That's paint and Tesla put on the vehicle.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this.
So they've done worse damage.
They live in a country that has a massive gas car industry, and they're going to environmentally protest the BEV company. That makes absolutely no sense. The one thing I will give them credit for, though, is if you want to bring attention to your cause, a Cybertruck is a good way to do that. So, which is good advertising for Tesla in a weird way.
Yeah. They did super glue themselves to a Volkswagen facility. I'm not sure if that is the floor. I don't know if that is a factory or a dealership, but I don't know what they're going for here. I get protesting diesel, but you're not going to ingratiate people to get rid of all cars. If that's actually what you're trying to do, you should say that for one. You're not going to ingratiate people to your cause by trying to skip these steps. You need to first get them out of gas and diesel, and then you can say, hey, I've got this nice bike. Why don't you try it? Not blow up their car and then like, oh, you got to walk now.
Actually, Brian from Future Us is in the chat room, and he indicates that Robin TV, who is from Germany, has indicated that Berlin really is a protest type culture. So that's happening all the time. And to Derek's question, where were the employees? They were actually in the shop. But as you know, walking into any Tesla shop, you could quickly walk up to a car with a 250 mils of paint and just dump it. They couldn't stop you in time. Not a chance.
And they're not security.
I mean, they're not security as well. They're certainly not looking to get into a fist fight with a protester. And of course, the lawsuits would be flying if that was to happen. So they're probably told not to engage people at all, let authorities do their job, as opposed to them trying to be security for the shop.
It also probably wasn't even them doing the recording. Remember all the people who got in trouble for Sentry Mode until Tesla did whatever to make that acceptable to these people. They were recording themselves.
Yeah, so this is an ongoing thing, and we've seen it on many different levels, and I really don't see it changing. Now that Tesla has gotten the approval to expand production at Giga Giga Berlin to close to 1 million units per year. I can see that more of this is going to happen. Like Tesla has now got themselves a painted target on their back. It may be even orange. But,
I see what you did there.
This is something that I don't think they're going to be able to get away from. I'm just hoping that they can maybe direct the anger differently, as we've heard that some oil companies are able to do. Make the case that you're really pushing up against a company that's trying to change the world for good. Why would you be singling us out for the production of a zero emission car?
Right.
One that's been proven over and over again that if you own the car for less than a 2-year period, it's producing less carbon even than if the price of carbon to make the vehicle has been neutralized. You're at a point where now all gas cars are continually belching out carbon, and your vehicle is now much cleaner. And as the ICE cars continue to get worse, yours continue to do no harm to the environment. So I'm not sure why those protest groups are not looking at the facts or choosing not to look at the facts.
They've been propagandized. But that study even is it's better than they say there, because that's the average EV, so across the industry, versus if you're looking to specifically use solar and wind power, and so it's actually a little better than that. And then they always like to bring up the cobalt. It's like you realize that every car on the road that's not an EV is using cobalt to desulfurize the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And only some
the
EVs.
enemies are fossil fuels right here. This is the enemy. This is who they should be focusing on, is eliminating fossil fuels, not attacking Tesla. It's just dumb.
And I do see it more like even in the normal news feeds, you do see that there's people that are blocking, the highways. They're getting out there and blocking the highways, preventing people from, driving on certain days for whatever reason. So it is happening across the board. But of course, with us covering Tesla, this seems to be a reoccurring story when it comes to Germany and Tesla, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see if anything changes or if it escalates or remains the same.
Yeah, Anders has it right. They don't understand it, and they're running on a faulty model.
Right.
Yep. Next story I want to talk a little bit about, of course, is the Cybertaxi, the Robotaxi, the Cybercab. We were all waiting for the 8th of August, where Elon had promised that there would be something revealed about the Cybercab that we could take a look at.
Brian's in a taxi right now. I bet you it's not a Robotaxi, though.
Ryan, is there someone driving your taxi or not? Are you in a Johnny Cab, Brian?
Johnny Cab.
Yes.
But it would be interesting to know with this this possible delay. It was announced by Bloomberg News. They had indicated that they found out from an insider in a meeting that there was going to be about a 2-month delay about this, because Elon in the meeting had indicated about a possibility that they could make an engineering change to the vehicle and make something better, which was unspecified in the Bloomberg piece. And the engineer said that'd be about 2 months. And Elon said, well, try to do it faster. So obviously it was important enough to delay the plans and the time schedule. Elon did wait a couple days before responding to a number of people on X asking him directly, and then ultimately said, yes, it has been delayed, but Elon has not said what the delay was for, nor has he said what timetable will be the new unveil. So he's kind of...
And there were bubbles. And he was mad. The Steve Jobs reference for the iPod.
So there is the case that that obviously there was a change that he wanted that made sense to him to either solve an issue or to make the car better. And with this extra time, of course, they'll be able to continue to work on the bumps in the road as well, make things a little bit smoother, I would imagine, and maybe even have a few prototypes available. So there's a number of things that will make it better. But of course, we on the outside, we get to wait and see what will happen eventually.
So not everything the legacy media reports is false. Not everything.
Yeah, so
that's why I call him the man who says stuff. I don't want to call him a liar because not everything he says is. Sometimes he's optimistic. He doesn't. I say he's the man who can't read a timepiece from a watch to a yearly calendar.
Elon uses a sundial and sometimes gets mixed up with the time frames.
Yeah, right. If you've been following Tesla for any length of time, delays are part of the game. It's just how if you push hard for the impossible, it's merely late. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
There are some things that he says where he's lately, especially where he kind of is splitting hairs, where somebody says something factual that anybody would see the two statements and be like, "Oh, I don't see the problem," and he's like, "Well, it's not 4 colors, it's 5."
Well, actually,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Other times they do turn out to be completely false for whatever reason, like his whole insistence that there's no such thing as a Model 3 Highland when everything in the parts catalog for the new Tesla is called Highland. So he's become much more of a mixed bag rather than it used to be. Like, he was like a bastion of 100% truthfulness to the point where it could hurt him. To the only thing that wasn't really true that we heard publicly was stuff where it just changed on him. So now it's like, what are you, 1990s Microsoft? Just got to read the tea leaves.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait, see if another official date comes out in a little while. But again, according to Bloomberg and some insiders, they thought it was going to be at least 2 months based on engineer speak that was happening in that particular meeting. But we shall see. And of course, we shall watch and see what happens.
An auspicious date in China. 8/8 was better than 10/10, but 10/10 is also a good date.
I wonder do you guys think that this means that the actual launch of Robotaxi will similarly be delayed, or is this just a unveiled delay without moving the nebulous date of 2025?
Initially, I had projected that they were just going to show us the car and then, have a party. But the fact that it was delayed by 2 months feels like there's going to be more to it than that. Like maybe they'd have a demo someplace in like California, Nevada, Arizona, where they have permission to do that sort of thing. Or one of the Roadster owners has suggested maybe we'll see the final edition of the Roadster as one more thing, because it's been one more thing.
That's true.
I think that Elon pushes the company with goals that he probably knows can't be achieved when it comes to timeframes. And I think that is on purpose, and it is often that he's optimistic about dates beyond what can really happen. But that's Elon's way, is to put these goals out and say let's strive for it, let's do it. And if they don't do it, I
don't think he's as nice as that.
I don't think. Well, yeah, I don't think he's nice about it either. But I do think that he feels that if I don't push, people will just automatically go back into neutral and glide. And I don't want that. I want people to be driving all the time. So I'm going to set the goals. And you know what? He probably makes examples of people that he believes are in neutral anyways. I can imagine that does happen. But in this case, in almost all cases, Elon, I think, sets these goals to be a leader, to push everybody forward at the speed he wants to go. And that's going to be an issue going forward. That's not going to change. But as for what they were going to show us on the 8th of August compared to what now they show us in maybe September or November, it's something that I think was going to be roughly the same. I don't believe there's going to be anything that would be brand new to it, except that with this extra time, they're going to be able to polish a number of other things that were going to be unpolished at the reveal on August the 8th. So I think the presentation, the vehicle itself, I think will be much more polished than what it would have been if it was released, 4 weeks from now.
If Elon's presenting, I don't think it'll be more polished. But he did take.
No, I mean what they're showing, the piece of equipment.
Yeah, I agree with that. But and he said it was his fault that it's going to be late because at the last minute he made the change. So
yeah,
I expect that whatever we do see will be more awesome than what we were going to see. So I'm excited, but again, I'm still not holding my breath.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we will see. We'll see together. See what happens as this moves along. But
I detect a little sarcasm in Paul's comment there.
That is correct, Paul. Patrick's got our next story out of California. What's this about, Patrick?
All right. So this story is by Eva Fox, and it comes to us from Drive Tesla Canada. It's titled Tesla Megapack 2 XL to power 200 megawatt / 800 megawatt hour energy storage system. So this is in Grand Parents, California. That's east of LA. And my favorite part about this story is that it's at the site of an old steam plant that was decommissioned in 2021. So it has the heavy duty grid connections that a Megapack site would need. So each Megapack 2 XL is 3.9 megawatt or 15.6 megawatt hours. So doing a little bit of math, and don't worry, Mark, I've already done the math ahead of time. That's about 51 Megapack 2 XLs on this site. And as we've seen in the recent quarterly report, energy storage has been growing rapidly. And this is just one example that it's showing no sign of slowing the demand for the Tesla Megapacks, which is awesome. This helps stabilize the grid. It helps make renewables more viable because they're not intermittent, they're on demand. And batteries actually respond faster to frequency, demand, and other changes compared to any fossil fuel plant that has to ramp up. So this is a win all around, and I thought it was a great spot for it.
Exactly, and it's something that, as you mentioned, Patrick, it's something that is happening more and more as time goes along. So this is something that, especially in California, this is really catching on to allow the utilities there to micro switch things to keep things stable, and of course to be able to control the ever increasing amount of sustainable energy that's being added to the grid daily, the solar, the wind farms that are being added here and there across the state. Having that ability to switch this thing on and off in microseconds to be able to stabilize the grid is really the big win here. It allows everybody to benefit from this and be able to keep things stable, as well as Patrick mentioned, not having to fire up a gas peaker plant, run it for a number of minutes or hours to get it up to full production, and then to have it shut down because you only needed it for a few minutes to stabilize the grid, and now it's not being used anymore. So, or even worse, the generators still continue to run, and they're just not engaging it to create electricity, and it's just making emissions for no reason.
Yep.
Right.
So the car dealership guy's got a podcast tomorrow where he's going to interview a guy, and one of the major topics is, can the grid handle a mass switch to EVs now? And yes, the answer is yes. But he's going to give you more nuance, as well as stuff like this. As it happens, it's going to make it more robust. It'll allow more fast charging. It'll allow you to be able to do these sorts of things without extra thought, rather than like if we all switched today and we all charged right after work and we all got off work at 5, they would ask us to kindly please not charge until after 7 p.m. But even today, that's not how it works. We don't all get off at the same time, for instance.
Right. And if that matters in your area, then you can have a pricing tier system that encourages off-peak hour charging. And so here it's half the price to charge overnight. So I don't start charging until 10 p.m. And most of the time I charge from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. because the prices go up at 6. So I have it set up to be done by 5:45. So then I'm not even that I'm if I want to charge up really high, then I'm not charging it too soon. So I charge it as late as I can to get it up to that level. And most of the time I'm only charging just 70 or 80% anyway. So it doesn't matter when I charge it. So yeah, there's definitely mechanisms. One of the things that I saw early on when I started driving EVs was that Pacific Northwest Labs did a study, and they said that 75% of vehicles could switch to EVs overnight. And if they're off-peak charging, it's the grid already has capacity for it. So that's in addition to all these new battery packs that have come online. That was before that. And that's because we have surplus overnight because we don't have a lot of businesses that are running. And then the other factor that I want to point out here, which is very similar to the cobalt statement you made earlier, Casey, is that if you look at California's energy usage, one of the biggest demands for electricity is refineries. So if you're not refining gasoline and you're just putting that electricity directly into a car in the first place, you get about the same miles of range with what they're using at refineries today if you were to put it directly into an EV without the tailpipe emissions.
It gets even better than that, though. When you look at it, every car takes the same amount of electricity to move down the road. The only question is, did it also take some fossil fuels to do that? Because that not just in California, but if you add up all the electricity of all the refineries, it's the same miles per kilowatt hour for the same class of vehicle, aerodynamics, weight, all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So a Lucid Air, it just hit 5 kilowatt hour or 5 miles per kilowatt hour. And
wow.
So you would spend that same electricity on a Lucid Air if it burned gasoline at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly, but you're cutting out all the processing, all the transportation by truck, all of that disappears, and you're just putting the electricity directly in the battery, and you're driving with that energy, as opposed to having to use the electricity to refine oil into gasoline, transport it, and then sell it at stations. It's such when it's explained that way, it just makes so much more sense to use the electricity directly into a battery. Same thing for a hydrogen vehicle. Why go through the trouble of splitting H2O into hydrogen, storing it, putting it in a special pressurized tank, pumping it into your car so it can access the electric motor you have in the hydrogen car? Why not just put a battery instead of the high pressure hydrogen tank and avoid all that middle stuff? Completely cut it out.
Yes.
Those tanks in your hydrogen cars have an expiration date on them, just like
that's right.
APCs.
9 years, and they have to be replaced. So guess what? Wow. And it ain't a cheap tank. Like, I got a 73 Vega, it needs a new gas tank. No. This is going to be an expensive upgrade. In fact, to the point where people will just scrap the car because it's too much. So,
and then even if you do buy the tanks, now you got to pay for the labor. Don't forget these tanks use up most of the space of the car.
Yeah, it's a complete farce, really.
Yeah. One of the stats I heard recently is that for shipping, about a third of shipping is done to move fossil fuels around. So taking oil to refineries or whatever. And so there you can cut out a third of shipping and all the emissions associated with it just by no longer using the fossil fuels. It's crazy.
Surplus. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this can the grid handle it? Yeah, I think it can. And we get all these knock-on benefits without even trying.
Exactly. Well, as you can tell, we could probably go on this topic for a full week if we wanted to.
Real quick before we move on, Honda has rejoined the hydrogen farce.
Man. What are they thinking? Well, they're not.
You just get out and they draw you back in. Honda just does not know what they're doing. I can't understand how they get drawn back in like that.
They've also claimed they're going to outsell all the Japanese on electric cars this year.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't
sure.
know what they're planning.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're going to do it by bottling unicorn tears. That's how they're going to do it. People say it's impossible. Honda says, you hold my beer. Watch me.
We're getting back in imagine we're going to triple you guys on these.
Oh, my gosh.
Going
to show this photo here to everybody. Let's do that. Boom. Showing this photo because, of course, it has been a year as of yesterday since the first Cybertruck was produced at Giga, Texas. And this was the photo taken a year ago. So, yes, there's been some trials and tribulations with the Cybertruck. There's been a few recalls. There's been a few issues that they've been ironing out. But overall, production is up. They are ramping. And it looks like they are getting close to actually getting to the point where the Foundation series, maybe by the end of this year or near the end of this year, will be retired and general production will ensue. Another piece of information about Cybertruck is apparently they released the new cyber covers for the truck, the redesigned ones that are not going to rub the sidewall. So that's one of the issues that Tesla has been working on and has completed.
Better than the Aero cycle cover wheels somehow.
Yep. So I saw a photo of it, but I'm not sure if the photo actually was showing the redesigned one or if it was just an old one. I'm not sure.
They show both side by side, so you can see that it was just a little bit shorter on the overhang area. It's just the part that used to be rubber appears to be gone. Which
is a good point to remind you if you follow us on our social media feed, on our X account at the Tesla Life, or on our Facebook page, the Tesla Life #1. We update and show photos throughout the week and news stories, so you'll be able to see a comparison there. We should be able to get that up later tonight on X. But with that, let's move on to
real quick. If you are one of the lucky few to have a Cybertruck, which outsold all EV pickups last quarter somehow, that is a bring it into the dealer, bring it into the store, service center updates. They won't mail them to you, so you can do it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little kerfuffle online right now.
I see. Well, with that, Casey, any shout outs for the audience tonight?
No, we got on Friday, we've got the Tesla Life Express. On Sunday, you've got Let's Chat with Casey and Friends. And on Monday, you've got another Tesla Life Express. And I think that we might, if you've got the time, guys, podcast while it's going live recording, so we can kind of give any input while the grid expert is there saying that EVs are not a problem. It might help some of the... you guys have seen Facebook and you've seen X with all the haters out there that don't know what they're talking about, but they're very loud. Maybe we could give them a little bit of a blockage.
That would be good. Share some insight. That can ultimately, if they're listening, can help change some minds. So, Patrick, what do you got for us?
Let's see if they're spewing lies.
Yeah. Patrick, any shout-outs from you?
Yes, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. And right now you can go and see how much the VPP actually impacted the grid. And it's noticeable, which is kind of cool. And then you can follow me at FFF Fossil Fuels on X. That's a future free from fossil fuels. Thanks.
Very good. Shout out to people in the chat room. Of course, we got Paul, we got Brian, Derek, Highlanders with us today, Anders. We had June joined us. Who else is out there? Am I missing anybody? I mentioned Paul,
Brian, and
Derek said a few times. 10K reviews. Somebody else that was new there. JT24 joined us this evening, and did not see our music director, but certainly we thank him for the music that we use every week, and want to certainly thank those who participate and send us a note here and there. Another note, Futuraza Brian, if you haven't checked out his video from Giga Mexico's site, please do. He was just traveling in Monterrey and produced a video just yesterday, I believe it was, with him on site with one of the Mexican drone flyers. And they went over some details about what they found on site. So if you haven't watched that, please do. With that, I think we will wrap tonight, and we will get together next time. And together we'll find out what is happening in the Tesla life.
Indeed. Thank you, Lee Moon.
Stay positive, test negative.